Now, imagine, if you will, a year ago, 2 years ago, 6 months, whatever it is, you had in your imagination a dream night shoot in which you found a beautiful location with an amazing foreground, clear night skies, moonless night. It's Milky Way season, and you have in mind a 2 or 3 hour time lapse of the Milky Way tracking its way behind this beautiful foreground across a clear sky. And you're an hour into it or 90 minutes into it, and suddenly a whole bunch of torchlights suddenly find their way into and across your foreground and this lovely scene, and suddenly it looks like the whole thing has just been scuppered. You only wanted 10 seconds worth of video, but suddenly right in the middle of it there's this glaring, nasty, blue, ugly light just covering the foreground. So that's exactly what has happened to me on more than one occasion. And not only that, but also the other major problem with trying to do time lapses these days in the night is the sheer volume of satellites and aeroplanes, helicopters, who knows what, that are also making their way across the sky. So you've got light pollution in the foreground that is intermittent because of the perfectly reasonable actions of other photographers. Sometimes, honestly, the rather ridiculous actions of other photographers, but also just other people who are visiting the area have a perfectly legitimate interest in doing so. You know, as photographers, we do not own the areas that we are wanting to photograph, and however passionately we might feel about our desire to get a good clean image, other people have as much right to be there as we do. Okay, so here we are at Kynance Cove, and at this point it's around about 10 to 12 at night, and everything appears to be going swimmingly, and our little troop of cyclists, bless their little cycling socks, have arrived at the cove. We've got their 6 million candle power headlamps on and lights on the bikes as well. That's rear lights and front lights, so we're going to get red light pollution and some very heavy blue light pollution here. So if we look at the next frame, what you can see, suddenly we've got all this nasty stuff. Some light pollution, it's fine, we can leave it. It's not going to cause too much aggravation, but this is way beyond what I want to leave in this gorgeous scene. So I'm going to have to get rid of this. So what the basic process is, I am going to send this image to Photoshop together with a clean image to Photoshop from earlier in the shoot. And now I could send them as layers, but I'm not. I'm going to send them each as individual images, and the reason for that is because I need to be absolutely certain that when Photoshop saves it back to Lightroom, it uses the correct file number and keeps it in sequence. So this one, I'm going to go edit in Photoshop. And then I'm going to find, go back to Lightroom and find an earlier image. And I'm going to look for something like image number 537. I think will be a clean one. There we go, 537. And we're going to edit this one in Photoshop too. Photoshop will open that up, and once I'm in Photoshop I will Command A on a Mac, which selects everything. Command C on a Mac, which copies everything. I'll go to layer for image, so the image 568, which is the one I'm now working on, and I will Command V, paste my copied selection into there. It will paste it in as a new layer, as layer 1. The original layer, which is this one, is now called background. I'm going to unlock it and I'm going to put it on the top and add a layer mask to it. So at the moment it's all white, everything is visible. I've got a black brush selected with some feathering at about 20 pixels or so, something like that will do, and full opacity and full flow. And all I'm going to do now is, with that layer and selected, with the layer mask selected, I'm just going to brush over it for the bits of the image that I feel are no longer acceptable. That's it. Flatten the layer, flatten image, save it. Photoshop will send it back to Lightroom and it will give it the same file number name but with an edit suffix on it now. So I can close it once it's saved. I'm going to close my source image for the corrections. I don't need to save that one. Let's go back to Lightroom, and here it is. We have image 568-edit next to the original one 568. I'm going to now remove this one 568, the original one, from this time-lapse folder. Yeah, that's a definite improvement. Okay, so now we're going the right sequence. 566, 567, 568. Next one, 569. And I will go through the same procedure again, export this one and a donor image to Photoshop. I've got to do this anyway, so I might as well do it right now. Edit in Photoshop. Back to Lightroom, open a donor image. So I'm going to go for 536 this time. There we go. Edit in Photoshop. Command A for select, Command C for copy. Switch images, Command V for paste. Unlock the background, swap them around, add in a layer mask and then brush over it. Just like this, look. And what an improvement. Okay, and again on that island back there. If in doubt, go over it. Okay, flatten the image and save it. Once it's saved, we can close it. Same with the other one. Don't save that one. Back to Lightroom and remove the one that we no longer need. So that should be number 569. It's gone. There we go. So I won't bore you with the rest of it, but there we are. Now, there are a couple of other things that I do want to show you. The first of them is how to get rid of hot pixels. So this is normally at an earlier stage, in fact, in this whole process. I've normally, by the point I get to removing light pollution, I will have got rid of hot pixels. So to a degree, I'm doing this little bit about face. So in Lightroom, I am going to select the remove tool. I don't need for this any AI generated help. That's just going to slow things down massively unnecessarily. I don't need it to detect objects or anything like that. And I'm going to choose as small a brush as possible, the minimum size brush, which is just a pixel, because I'm just dealing with a pixel basically. So let's just have a little look here. Right, so I've just spotted a hot pixel right in the middle of this bit of green here. I think, yeah, that is a hot pixel as far as I can tell. And so I'm just going to hover over it, click it, it's gone. But this is a bad one to use as an example, because what I really want to do is show you what I do more generally. So normally what I will do is I'll find somewhere a hot pixel some way into the sequence, maybe as far as an hour and a half into the sequence. So let's look at this one, for example. And if I hover over it, what you will now see is a whole load of areas of the image where I have already got rid of hot pixels. Now, it would be utterly ridiculous of me to remove every hot pixel manually in every one of the sequence of 250 images. And but what I'm going to do is show you the principle of how I would do this in one frame, and then synchronize all of those manual adjustments to all of the other frames. So here's another hot pixel I haven't dealt with yet. Down in the cove, in the middle of the cove here, I'm going to click over it, hover over it, give it a click. That's it, it is gone. And so you can see here, I probably have something like, roughly speaking, 25, 30 hot pixels in there in the foreground, and there are also some in the sky. Ones in the sky are a little bit harder to see, and so I'm just going to show you quickly a little trick for doing that. If I zoom in a bit, I go to the edge here, I know there's a hot pixel over here, so let's just remove that one. It kind of stands out a mile, because particularly towards the edge of the frame, the stars have been stretched a bit by the effect of the wide angle lens, and the fact that in this case it's a 25-second exposure that was necessary. And so if it's a pixel, it's not going to be stretched, it's just a fixed point, and it'll be very white. It won't look a bit blue, it won't look a bit red, it won't look a bit yellow, it'll just be bright white, and it'll just be a very single small point, and so it will stand out. So I'm just going to get rid of that one. And you will go through this process carefully, spending a lot of time probably just on one image to get as many of those as you can, because what will happen is that if you miss ones that are in the sky, that fixed point that is in the sky, as the rest of the sky moves past it, will stand out. Almost as if it was the other way round, as if the rest of the sky was still and you had a single point going across it. It will be a similar effect. It will stand out compared to the motion of everything else. So you do want to spend a reasonable amount of time trying to get rid of as many of these hot pixels as you can. Right, okay, so once you've selected all of those, then you can synchronize. If I go to here, let's just go back into normal edit mode. And if I multiple select a number of images and bring up the sync box, then here you want to select just the manual adjustments. I'm not going to do it now because I'll ruin all the work that I've done, but just select the manual remove adjustments. And do this before you've tried to get rid of any satellite trails or aeroplane trails or anything like that, because those will change with each image, whereas your hot pixels will not change much from image to image. So do your hot pixels first, synchronize those to the rest of the images. Once you've done that, you can then start working on your sky for those things that do change from image to image. Right, so let's go back to our adjustments section here, and we'll find a frame in which we've got lots of things that need correcting in the sky. They were a lot of the satellite trails were early on, so for some reason, not entirely sure why, but there you go. Let's find somewhere here. Right, okay, oh, here's one I've missed. So this is I've seen two that I've missed, so this is a good example. So using exactly the same tool, this is the remove tool without use generative AI and not detecting objects. So I'm going to click the smallest, with the smallest possible brush at one end of this offending article in the sky. Click, one mouse click, move to the other end, hold down the shift key and then click at the other end and then move away, and you can see it has got rid of that. In fact, I found another one here as well. So here's one, click, shift, click, and this one, click, shift, click. That's it. Now I'm going to check the other frames either side of this because it may be that I've missed a whole batch here. Yeah, there's another one there. Look, shift, sorry, click, shift, click. Same here. Click, shift, click, click, shift, click. I'm slightly puzzled as to why I hadn't spotted these earlier. Click, shift, click. But at least you're getting the idea. I'm going to stop doing that here now because I can do the rest of these in my own time without wasting your time. But that, I hope, will help you understand the process for removing a lot of these aberrations that you get in the time lapse, because it can be so frustrating. You might have been waiting, as I said earlier, a year, 6 months, 2 years to get to this point where you can come up with this beautiful time lapse, and these opportunities don't come up very often, and suddenly it all just gets wrecked. Well, this is at least 3 ways in which you can help recover your time lapse. It is time consuming, but honestly, it's really worth spending the time on it. So I hope you found that useful. These processes will help you get rid of all of those light polluted aberrations in terms of frames. It will help you get rid of hot pixels in a relatively efficient way, and satellite trails. Now, I know that there are automated versions of getting rid of dust and scratch spots using some of the sort of subscription software, like the Creative Suite software with Adobe. But the photographic pack does not come with that. You have to spend a lot more on your subscription. And because I only will do maybe 3, 4, 5 time lapses in a year, maybe half a dozen, something like that at most, I'm not going to start spending another 60 something pounds a month to get additional software just to deal with this. So because my usage is relatively low, I'm just going to put in the hours to get it done. So I hope you found that helpful, and if so, thank you very much for watching, and let me know if you have found it useful, or if you've encountered similar problems, or if you've got any other tips and tricks to make this even simpler for those weird people among us who go out photographing the stars in the middle of the night. See you again next time.